What's going on, guys? So yeah, I have the front wheel off my motorcycle yet once again. This time I'm replacing the wheel bearings. Well, I did already. I'm putting the wheel back on. I thought I'd take a moment while I'm doing this to introduce this video coming up. It's what I've been thinking about for a while. Something that's been rattling around in this crazy philosophical brain of mine. It's one on being your best self. No, I probably wasn't being my best self when I didn't inspect my bike for 6 weeks. But I have a few announcements too that I want to mention. But before I get into that, let me get to this. Hi, my name's Joe, and on this channel, I like talking about motorcycles, taking you along on my travel adventures, and talking about how freaking amazing life is. If you like any one of those three things, go and click on that subscribe button and that bell icon. If you click on that, that will let you know when I upload videos just like this one. So I got 3 announcements. 1, Midwest Moto Meetup coming up. What, 5 weeks from now? September 13th through the 16th at Pierre Marquette State Park in Southern Illinois. D-Cycle's gonna be there, Kid Moto 22, Wet Banana Moto, Tony Cox, and a whole slew of friends that are just a big part of the community on this channel. If you haven't RSVP'd yet, definitely click on the link below to find out more information and RSVP. Midwest Moto t-shirts are now available for sale. The sale ends on August 30th, and you'll be able to pick up your t-shirt at the Midwest Moto Meetup. And a link to buy that shirt is available in the description. Finally, one really cool announcement that I have is 5 Dirty Bikers podcast is coming your way. We're gonna be recording it live on Patreon. Go to the Patreon link in the description to be able to see that. A couple days later, that edited podcast will be available for all Patreon supporters. And if you don't know already, 100% of the donated funds on Patreon go straight to the Midwest Moto Meetup. So thank you for all the supporters. At the end of August, we'll officially have the 5 Dirty Bikers podcast available to everyone on whatever podcast site you go to listen to your podcasts. But for now, let's not delay this video anymore. Let's go to the Driftless Region. See you there. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Back in the heart of the Driftless Region, and I just stopped for lunch. Here in stopped for lunch right there at the Village Cafe. Here in the heart of the Driftless Region. I'm actually in Baraboo, Wisconsin. It's about 40-ish miles north of where I live. Nice little town. Come here about once a month or so. Devil's Lake State Park, where in a former life I actually worked at. It's kind of fun. I was a much younger Joe when I worked at Devil's Lake State Park. The bluffs at Devil's Lake State Park are kind of cool. I went hiking there, oh gosh, about a month ago. One of the best places to hike in the state, I think. It gets pretty popular during the summertime. Pretty crowded, actually. I think the best time to go is early morning or late afternoon, early evening in the fall when all the leaves are changing. But Baraboo is not what I wanted to talk about here. I think I'm actually gonna head a different way. I'm kind of on a get lost ride here. Highway 33 out of Baraboo is eastbound is where I want to go, actually. So I'm gonna kind of cheat inside this roundabout. Hopefully nobody will run me over. And do the full roundabout and head back, take 33 out of town. But what I want to talk to you guys about is this notion of being your best self. So you may have heard somebody say to you, the goal in life is to be your best self. Or you may have heard an ex say to you, you're not being your best self, which may or may not be true. And I got to thinking about that before I got on the bike this morning. What the hell does that actually mean? The phrase itself makes sense. You know, you want to be the best possible person that you can be. Your best self. But I think the problem with that statement is it's thrown out there. What's going on, brother? It's thrown out there without any notion of measurement, right? What is your best self? And is it okay for others to say to you, you need to be your best self, or you're not being your best self. Who defines what your best self is? And this started rolling around in my head this morning before I got on the bike. And I decided that only you can define what your best self is. If somebody else says to you, you're not being your best self, I don't think that's appropriate. I think only you can define your best self. And how you measure that is what's important. Sure, we as a society have certain measurements as a whole, broadly, what a decent human being is. And honestly, some of the worst of our behaviors really occur in the anonymity of the online community. For that curtain-creating keyboard allows some people to feel like they can be their absolute worst selves. And I'm not saying this as I define it, as they would probably define it. I'm sure some people leaving some pretty negative comments on YouTube or on the internet probably read it later and thought, man, I was a jerk. I know I have. I know I've left some comments where I've edited later, or thought that that wasn't the best comment that I could have left. And I can tell you this, having created content now on YouTube for about a year and a half, I can tell you 100% that the way I respond to people is much better. Not to say that I was terrible before, but I'm 100% more conscious of what I say on a creator's channel. Because I know what it's like to get those negative comments. And a lot of us creators can say that it doesn't affect us, but it does. It does. Just as any negative comment would affect anybody. But that's a huge tangent. That's a huge rabbit hole. It's really pretty in this area. The bluffs around Baraboo. Plenty of hills in this area. Really exemplifies the Driftless Region. It's hazy out today, so Mother Nature is not being her best self right now, displaying the beauty of this area for you guys. But is that for me to determine? I don't know. It's still really pretty in this area. Anyway, huge tangent. But I truly believe to be able to focus on being your best self, only you could set those parameters on what your best self is. And some of you may say, well, Joe, that's dangerous ground. If your friends aren't telling you you're not being your best self, and those are within the parameters as you're defining them, that's not a good thing. Well, no, that doesn't mean that your parameters can't readjust. If somebody's telling you you're being an asshole, and it's true, you should be thinking, man, I gotta reset my best self parameters here. It's not like your best self parameters are set in stone. You can reset these, you know? And we do this throughout our lives. I know I have. Think about how you acted in your 20s. Your parameters for your best self are definitely different than when you were a kid than when you were older, without a doubt. And that's not to say that when you're a kid, your parameters are not right. No, they are. Your best self parameters should be different depending on where you are in life. Man, it feels really good to rip on this bike right now. This is the first time that I got on the bike for a long distance trip since my rear axle bolt got loose and snapped the axle adjustment bolt in the middle of an intersection. Actually, I got a video where I described that experience, and it was my own fault. Check out that video. It's in the description and then also in the upper right here. I also think about moments in my life where I feel like I was my best self, and I always want to get back there if I feel like I'm not being my best self. I use my memory of when I felt I was being my best self as the compass, as the as the North Star of where I want to get to, right? And where I want to get back to help center myself to where I want to be, my best self. And usually when I use that, it's not hard for me to find my way back. I'm kind of in a valley here. It's about 90 degrees outside right now, but I'm in a valley, a coulée, if you will. But as I dip lower, I can feel this coldness as if like I'm in a canyon. It feels really good. And now I'm climbing, I don't feel it anymore. It's getting hot again. So what do you guys think? What do you think about the notion of your best self? Has anybody ever said to you, you're not being your best self? And if so, how did you react to that? What do you think about defining your best self? Should it be up to you or the people around you? Maybe I'm way off base here. Maybe this philosophy on a Harley is just way off base. Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, guys. As always, ride safe out there, be kind, and keep your wheels rolling in the right direction. I'll see you in the next video.